Mm-hmm. Hello, viewers. Larry the Dinosaur Penguin here. Today's video is a very special video, as this was donated to us by a young Girl Scout named Cindy, who for a merit badge fundraised the funds necessary to purchase today's figure. Mainly because she's a fan of me, not all these silly crazy robot toys. By the way, when it's cookie season, Dino Penguins love frozen mint cookies. Okay, announcer, on with the show. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and yes, Larry is correct. This was a figure donated to us by a young Girl Scout named Cindy. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to reveal any information regarding her troop, but I do want to give a shout out to her and to her mother Beauty for making the arrangements with me to have this donated to the channel. Mother also recommended that we give a shout out to a friend of hers named Cindy and her daughter Alexis for helping in the purchase of this figure. So thank you to everybody, and even though we can't give a shout out, can't mention the troop by number, we're going to give a shout out to Cindy's troop anyways. So hello to all of you young ladies out there. I hope that all of you will do something similar for other organizations. It's good to see the young people out there encouraging donations to good causes. Now, while we're not necessarily a good cause, but we are a Transformer channel review, and we do appreciate the support from our fans. Even though most of the support goes to Larry the Dino Penguin. Alright, let's take a look at what we've got here. What we have here is a Masterpiece figure, a first for this channel. And we have the Masterpiece figure, Lambor. Now, of course, Lambor in America was known as Sideswipe. And we'll take a look at how he looks compared to the Generation 1 toy in a little bit. First, I just want to marvel at the sight of having a Masterpiece figure. The Masterpiece line is definitely intended at adult collectors, but they're mainly sold in Japan and not very commonly found in a lot of other places. And usually when you do find some of them, they are quite expensive. Now, of course, Lambor here is one of them on the lower cost end, because I have seen him at many of the various anime conventions I have attended. So, but hey, that's in no ways knocking the efforts that was put through to get this figure to the channel. So, don't anybody misinterpret my remarks on that. But at any rate, let's put Lambor aside for a moment. Let's take a look at the box here. I do love the detail here on this box. As you can see here, we got the robot and the car mode, which of course, Sideswipe and Lambor was made to resemble a Lamborghini Countach LP500S, which of course was a beautiful car back in the 1980s. Somewhat impractical, but a beautiful car that many of us definitely longed to want. And of course, up here at the top, we got the Transformers logo. It's got Masterpiece etched underneath it. It's probably not coming off too well on the camera. Of course, a couple of letters don't have their sheen in it anymore, but hey, that's cool. We can live with that. And of course, we've got the symbol for Lamborghini. And of course, if you look on YouTube, you can find a lot of videos that cover a Lamborghini Countach. One of my favorites is from Jay Leno's garage, where he showed off his personal Countach. But of course, he also had the spoiler removed since, as it's factually known, the spoiler actually slows the car down. But he also corrects people in their assumption that no Countach has ever went over 200 miles an hour. Anyway, here at the top of the box, we just have the Transformers Masterpiece, and it does label Lambor. He's apparently 12th in the series, and they list him as Cybertron Warrior. For the benefit of those that are newer to the Transformer mythos, Cybertron is not just the name of the planet they come from. In Japan, the Autobots were called Cybertrons, and the Decepticons were called Destrons. Of course, here on the side of the box, we've got a picture of the car mode. Beautiful shot. And on the opposite side, we've got a picture of the robot. And on the back here, we've got a lot of vital statistics and probably some bio on Lambor. Unfortunately, I can't read any of it because I can't read Japanese yet. And of course, we got shots down here that depict him holding the various accessories. A size comparison with him and Convoy, better known as Optimus Prime here in America. And then up here we've got a picture of him in the car mode and probably some statistics here about the car. And of course, I love this picture here where it shows that we can apparently, if we had the Convoy and the trailer, because I know that these two are sold separately from the Masterpiece line, you can apparently set it up where Lambor is driving out of the trailer. That's a nice addition. And then, of course, down here we have his accessory. We have a list of all the contents, which is basically the car, missile launcher, the gun, a couple of pile drivers, a trading card, and his instructions, which we'll all take a look at as we go through the video. At any rate, let's bring out Lambor again. And for comparison's sake, we have here Generation 1 Sideswipe. As you can see, Lambor is noticeably taller than Sideswipe. And yes, many of you may comment that my Sideswipe doesn't have the shoulder cannon. Well, unfortunately, not too terribly long ago, the shoulder cannon broke. When I was setting him up for some other feature, one of the posts broke on it. So I'm in need of a replacement for it, so I can do a proper review of Sideswipe. But at any rate, you get to see how he looks side by side with the other toy. Okay, we'll start taking a look at some of the things that he came with. We'll start by taking a look at the card, which has a nicely drawn picture of Lambor. And of course, we turn it around to the back side, and it shows the toy in both robot and car modes. And of course, gives a listing of a bio on him. And again, I can't read it. But it does down here give his tech spec values. It lists his strength as 6, his intelligence, speed, and endurance are 7, his rank is 5, his courage is 10, his fire blast is 3, and his skill is 6. Now, I know some of you out there are going to be going, "Hey, Sparkster, you just said you can't read Japanese. How do you know what you read is correct?" Well, for that part, I'm cheating, because it's also listed here on the instructions, and down here in this part, it's in English. So I'm cheating. But of course, also here in English, it has some statistics on the car. It gives the car's length as 4,140 millimeters. Its width is 1,995 millimeters. Its height is 1,029 millimeters. It has a wheelbase of 2,443 millimeters. The empty weight of the car is 1,499 kilograms. Its power is 276 kilowatts, or a torque of 41.7 kilograms, or 4,500 RPM, and a top speed of over 290 kilometers per hour. And I know Jay Leno said no Countach ever went over 200 miles an hour. Well, that's the difference. This is in kilometers. So, if you want to convert that and figure out what it means, well, Google has a conversion for that. At any rate, let's take a look here at Lambor's accessories, and he only came with 4. The first one, of course, is his missile launcher. Now, it's non-firing because it does not include any missiles in it at all. And it connects onto the robot via this little movable post here. It fits rather loosely in his shoulder, so it does fall off very easily. That's one disappointment. As you can see, it's in all the way, but it does wobble very well. But, since it's on a hinged piece, it can be aimed up and down. His next piece, of course, is his gun, which the instructions label as a flare gun. And again, I'm cheating, because it's right here, in English. It's done up in a very similar shape to the Generation 1 toy. See, he's right over here off camera. We'll remove it and bring it up here. And as you can see, they are shaped sort of similarly. They're not an exact match, but it does clearly take some inspiration from it. And of course, to insert it into his hand, you have to open Lambor's palm, and then one of these posts will connect inside his hand. But of course, it can also be fitted sideways, and you can connect it to the missile launcher. And then you have a combined weapon mode. Now, Lambor also comes with a pair of pile drivers. Let's drop one of them here so you can get a really good look at the other one. This goes in line with how it's talked about in his toy bio, that he has pile drivers that he can use for close combat fighting. To use them, we would have to reshape one of his hands so that way his fists are inside. And then you simply connect the pile driver onto the end of his hand. And then there you go. That gives you a rather unique way to display him. He can be in fisticuffs with another Transformer. Okay, let's take a look here at Lambor's articulation. And he definitely has a lot more than his Generation 1 counterpart. The head can be turned from side to side, and it is on a slight ball joint, so it will look up and down a bit. His arms can be raised out about so far, and the arms do rotate at the shoulder all the way around. He can bend his arm at the elbow 90 degrees, and he does have a swivel at his bicep, so that does give him some G.I. Joe-styled battle grip. His hands can be rotated at the wrists, and the 4 fingers do open up. They're all fused together, so they all move at once. Unfortunately, his thumbs do not move. Lambor can be twisted at his hips. You can have his legs spread apart and do a full splits. There is a joint at his thigh, so you can adjust his legs at the thigh. You can raise his leg up at the hip just under 90 degrees. And you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. And of course we can adjust his feet at the ankle. That really doesn't do a whole lot for posability. But there we go, we get quite a range of motion with him. Okay, now comes the fun part. We're going to transform Lambor here into his alternate mode. Alright, the first thing we got to do is we turn him around, because we've got to raise out the top of the car. Underneath it here is where the side windows are. We've got to reposition those back out to the sides and get them locked into position. And then kind of release this back so it stays out of our way. Then the next thing we've got to do is we've got to put his fists away. To do that, we would open up the side cover, the red portion of his forearms, fold the fist inside, and then close it up. There we go. Now, once we've done that, his arms need to be raised up, like so. We've got to turn them to the side, and then fold them downwards. Like that. So that gets his arms prepared. Nope, we got them in backwards. Turn them around. Got them folded right, we just got them in backwards. There we go, and get them reconnected in there on the shoulders. And of course, fold the head back a little bit. So we're going to take the hood of the car, separate it from the chest. Because we're also going to turn here on the inside and fold things upwards a bit. And then, of course, his hip piece needs folded up entirely. Down here at his feet, the rear bumper of the car needs to be pulled away a bit from these black pieces, because those need to be detached and folded up onto his thighs. Of course, once we've done that, we got to fold down the extra pieces that were sticking out. Once those are done, we're going to turn him over to his feet. We're going to fold in the back of his feet, like so. Then the spoiler needs to be folded out to the side for a moment, like that. Because we're going to stretch his feet out, like so. And then now, everything regarding the feet and his legs has to be folded up and inside like so. Fold it just like that. Keep the black pieces staying on his thighs. So we're going to rotate these edges of the car back to get the wheels back in alignment. Feel free to shift up the rear bumper as you're doing it, because it will need to be shifted out of the way to get it back into position. Just to get everything back. And there we go. Once we have everything back, you can kind of put the legs together. You fold down the spoiler. And then we're also going to take these side pieces and you're going to rotate them in to help completely form the back end of the car. Then, of course, we're going to get the top of the car, kind of fold it back, and lock it into place. Just exactly like that. And now we come up here to where the arms are. We're going to rotate them around so they come back and form the doors of the car. Feels like something shifted here on us. That's better. We can get the piece to move all the way. Just wiggle that in. And we bring up the hood. Get it locked into place. And then we fold the front tires up so they're back in position. And then there we have it, folks. A Lamborghini Countach. It's a beautiful looking model of the car. It does look great in this mode. The unfortunate part is due to the way the black plastic is positioned here for his hip shield and the lower legs, it means that the back wheels don't make contact with the ground. So, it does look kind of wonky. And unfortunately, it also means the thing can't roll on the wheels very well. So if there is to be a criticism, it's that design doesn't really allow for much play value, but then again, when you consider the target market for the Masterpiece line, play value is kind of low on the scale. But of course, we will compare it here with the Generation 1 car. And at least there is a little better consistency on the color for the car on the Masterpiece one than on the Generation 1 toy. The G1 toy, like many other transforming robot toys that were done in the 80s, they transitioned a lot between metal and plastic. And unfortunately, a darker color like red, you could tell which pieces were metal, as in the rear of the car as I drop it, and plastic, which was the rest of the car. I don't know if it's coming off that well on the camera or not, but there is a noticeable difference in the shade of the color. Whereas here on the Masterpiece one, there is still some noticeable difference, but it's not quite as bad. I mean, there's a slight notice of it here on the top of the car due to the fact that this part is painted. The thing was molded in the clear plastic for the windshield and the windows, so this part up here was painted. So you can tell there's a slight difference. And there is a slight difference when you look at him from the side, because you can see that the doors are not consistent in the same color. But again, that's really a minor gripe, since that's just how it is with the materials that it's made with. We do also have a little bit of bonus thing. The missile launcher can be fitted, to the top of the car. And of course you can attach the flare gun to the side with it. And Sideswipe's got some firepower here. Well, Lambor, I should say, has some firepower here. Something the Generation 1 Sideswipe toy did not get to do. All in all, what do I think of Lambor? I think this is a very impressive looking little toy. It's definitely meant for an older collector or an adult collector that's a fan of the 1980s style of the Transformers. So I definitely like how it turned out. I do like the fact that Lamborghini did put their official seal on it, so making it an official product. So it does make it a nice official thing, and you can boast that you have a Lamborghini. Granted, it's not a real Lamborghini, but it's definitely easier to maintain, and you don't have to insure it for as much. Always time for humor here at the channel. If there's really any gripes, they're all relatively minor, since this thing's not really meant to be played with. It's more meant to be a display piece. If it was meant to be a toy to be played with, well, we'd have some gripes over the fact that it can't roll very well, and the missile launcher doesn't really sit in the post very well on his shoulders. Well, that can also be a problem for displaying, because every so often you're going to have to take a feather duster to Lambor, and that may knock it off of his shoulder. If that doesn't bother you, then I'd say put him out on display. If that is going to bother you, you may want to display him in battle with the pile drivers. And that concludes my review of the masterpiece version of Lambor. I hope you all enjoyed it. We also ask that you all please do like, share, comment, and subscribe, because we do enjoy the feedback here on the channel. Once again, we give a thanks to Beauty and Cindy for their work with the Girl Scouts to get us this figure. And next month, we're going to be taking a look at some more of the last wave of the Kingdom toys. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.